There is something you're doing right now that's quietly destroying your power, and you don't even notice it. Feels normal, feels harmless, but it's costing you control. Every word you speak without thinking is a signal, a leak, a weakness. You think talking gives you presence. It doesn't. It reveals you, piece by piece. Too much talking is not confidence. It's a lack of control, and people can sense it instantly. They don't tell you. They just adjust how they treat you. Less respect, less attention, less value, because you're too available, too expressive, too easy to read. And what's easy to read is easy to control. That's the part nobody tells you. The world doesn't reward noise. It studies it. It analyzes it. And then it uses it against you. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. You have power over your mind, but look at you. Your mouth moves faster than your mind. Your reactions lead. Your discipline follows. That's why you keep losing moments you should have owned. Moments where silence would have made you untouchable. But instead, you spoke, you explained, you reacted, and just like that, you gave everything away. There is a different way to move. Quieter, sharper, more dangerous. A man who speaks less observes more, and a man who observes understands everything. While others rush to respond, he studies, he waits, he chooses. That's control. Seneca warned about this weakness. We suffer more in imagination than reality. Yet you keep feeding your mind noise, talking, overthinking, reacting, creating chaos, where silence would bring clarity. You don't need more words. You need more control. Because the moment you master silence, everything shifts. People feel it. They don't know why, but they feel it. Your presence becomes heavier, stronger, unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. Because no one can read you anymore. No one can trigger you easily. No one can pull reactions out of you. You become still. And stillness is intimidating. Not because it's loud, but because it's not. Most people depend on noise, validation, tension, reaction. But you don't need any of it. And that's what separates you. That's what makes you dangerous. The next time you feel the urge to speak, pause. Don't rush it. Let the silence sit. Let people feel it. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Because mystery is stronger than explanation. Always. If this is starting to hit you, good. That discomfort you feel, that's awareness. That's growth trying to break through. So don't ignore it. Lean into it. And if you're serious about mastering this level of control, subscribe. Not for motivation, for discipline, because this is where most people fail. And if you're still here, comment, control. A reminder that from this moment, you move differently, quieter, sharper, unshaken. Now stay with me, because what comes next is not comfortable. It will expose you, not the version you show people, the real one, the one that reacts too fast, the one that needs to be heard, the one that fears being ignored. That version is loud, desperate even, and people can feel it, even when you think they can't. You don't lose respect in one moment. You lose it slowly, every time you speak too soon. Every time you interrupt silence. Every time you try to prove something no one asked for. That's how it slips away. Quietly. Just like your control. But here's the part that changes everything. Silence is not empty. It's loaded. With awareness. With restraint. With power waiting to be used. Only when necessary. Most people are afraid of it. Because silence forces truth. No distractions. No performance. Just raw presence. And if you're not in control, it exposes you instantly. That's why you fill the gaps. Talking, explaining, overthinking out loud, trying to stay in control by doing the exact opposite. You think you're managing the moment, but the moment is managing you. And every second you keep speaking, you move further away from power. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase validation. He didn't rush to respond. He observed. He filtered. He chose his words, like they mattered, because they do. Every word you release should carry weight. If it doesn't, it weakens you. This is where discipline separates you. Not in what you say, but in what you refuse to say. That's the edge. That's the difference. Anyone can speak when emotions rise. Very few can stay still, unmoved, untouched, in control. That's why silence feels unnatural to you, because you've never trained it. You've trained reaction instead. Instant response, instant emotion, instant exposure. But control is never instant. It's built in the pause, in the space where you choose not to act. And that space is where you either rise or reveal your weakness. Think about the last time you felt disrespected. What did you do? Did you react immediately? Did you raise your voice? Did you explain yourself? Or did you hold it? Did you let the silence speak for you? Because silence sends a message words never can. It says, I'm not affected. I don't need to prove anything. I choose when to engage. And that message is louder than anything you could say. Seneca understood this. Silence is a lesson learned from the many sufferings of life, because every unnecessary reaction teaches you the same thing. You spoke too soon. Again, you gave energy to something that didn't deserve it. Again, and now you feel it, that quiet regret, that moment where you wish you had just stayed silent. That feeling is not random. It's awareness, trying to correct you, trying to sharpen you, but you ignore it and repeat the cycle until silence becomes uncomfortable and noise becomes your default. That's where most people stay, stuck in reaction, stuck in patterns, stuck being predictable. But you don't have to stay there. You can break it right now, not tomorrow, not later. Now, the next time someone challenges you, don't rush. Let them finish. Look at them. Say nothing. Feel the tension build. Let it sit. Because in that moment, you're not losing control. You're taking it back. You're shifting the frame. They expect noise. You give them silence. They expect emotion. You give them stillness. And suddenly, they're the one uncomfortable. They're the one exposed. That's the reversal. That's the power shift. And it only happens when you stop feeding the moment, when you stop reacting automatically, when you start choosing deliberately. That's focus, not just on tasks, but on yourself, on your impulses, on your reactions, on the parts of you that betray your control. Because focus isn't about doing more. It's about eliminating noise, external and internal. And the first noise you must eliminate is unnecessary speech, because words create direction. They shape perception. They define how people see you. So if your words are scattered, your image is scattered. If your words are controlled, your presence becomes sharp, clear, intentional, unshakable. That's what you want. Not attention, not validation, respect. And respect is not given to those who speak the most. It's given to those who need to say the least. Because when they speak, it matters. Every word lands. Every sentence holds weight. And people listen without being asked. That's where you're going. But you won't get there by doing what you've always done. Reacting, explaining, over-talking. You get there by cutting, reducing, refining, until only what matters remains. That's discipline. That's Stoic control. And it doesn't happen overnight. It happens moment by moment, choice by choice, silence by silence. So right now, be aware. Notice your urge to speak. Don't fight it. Just observe it. Because the moment you see it clearly, you gain distance from it. And distance gives you control. That's how it starts. Not with a big change, but with a small pause, a delayed reaction, a withheld word. And over time, those small moments compound into presence, into discipline, into power, real power, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind that doesn't chase attention, the kind that walks into a room and shifts it without saying anything. That's the level. And if you're still here, you feel it. Something is changing, quietly, inside you. So don't ignore it. Stay with it, because what you're building is rare. And once you master it, you'll never move the same again. And the truth you've been avoiding is this: you're not losing to people. You're losing to your own lack of control. Every reaction, every rushed word, every emotional reply is self-betrayal. Not once, but repeatedly. You say you want respect, but your actions say something else. They say you need to be heard. They say you need to be right. They say you can't sit with discomfort. And people read that instantly. They may not say it, but they feel it. And feeling is enough, because respect is not logical. It's emotional. It's instinctive. It's built on what people sense, not what you try to prove. And right now, you're proving too much, explaining too much, giving too much. For what? Approval? Validation? Control? You're chasing control by losing it. That's the paradox. And until you see it clearly, you'll keep repeating it. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." But you keep arguing. With people. With situations. Even with yourself. Instead of becoming. Instead of embodying control, you try to explain it. And explanation is the language of insecurity. Because power doesn't explain itself. It expresses itself through behavior, through presence, through restraint. Think about it. The strongest person in the room is rarely the one talking. It's the one observing, measuring, choosing when and if to speak. That's not coincidence. That's mastery. And mastery requires something you've been avoiding. Discipline in the unseen moments. Not when people are watching, but when you feel triggered. When your ego is hit. When your emotions rise. That's the real test. That's where you either level up or reveal your weakness again. Epictetus warned about this directly. He said in Enchiridion, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Read that again, because it cuts deep. It means you won't always look strong. You won't always win arguments. You won't always get the last word. And that's the point, because needing the last word is weakness disguised as strength. You've been trained to think silence is losing, but silence is often dominance in disguise. It denies access. It denies reaction. It denies control to anyone trying to provoke you. And when you deny someone control over you, you take it back completely. But this path is not easy because it forces you to face something uncomfortable. You're addicted to reacting, not physically, mentally, emotionally. You crave the release, the response, the feeling of saying something back. It gives you a temporary sense of control. But temporary is not power. It's a trap, a loop, and you've been stuck in it for years. Different people, same reactions, different situations, same outcome, because the problem was never them. It was your inability to hold yourself, to contain your emotions, to sit in tension without collapsing into reaction. That's the skill. That's the edge. And it's built in moments you usually ignore, like when someone disrespects you subtly, not openly, just enough to trigger you. Your instinct is to respond, to correct, to assert dominance. But what if that's exactly what they want? What if your reaction is the reward? Because when you react, you show them where you're weak, where you're sensitive, where you can be controlled. And once someone sees that, they never forget it. So the next time it happens, don't respond immediately. Don't rush to defend. Let the silence stretch. Let them sit in it. Let them wonder if it affected you at all. Because uncertainty is power, and certainty is exposure. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to manipulate. The more controlled you become, the harder you are to reach. That's the shift you're building. From reactive to intentional, from emotional to disciplined, from exposed to unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous, not in a chaotic way, in a controlled way. They don't waste energy. They don't argue for validation. They don't speak to fill space. They move with purpose. Every word, every action, every silence is chosen. That's what you're stepping into, but it requires sacrifice. You will lose certain interactions, certain conversations, certain moments where your ego wants to win. You will feel misunderstood, even underestimated. And that's where most people break. They go back to noise, back to reacting, back to explaining themselves, because it's comfortable, familiar, easy. But easy is what kept you weak. Discipline is what will make you sharp. And discipline begins with silence, not forced silence, controlled silence, chosen silence, the kind that comes from awareness, from understanding that not everything deserves your voice, not everything deserves your attention, not everything deserves you. That's the mindset. That's the boundary. And once you set it, everything changes. Your energy becomes protected. Your focus becomes sharper. Your presence becomes heavier. People notice, even if they don't understand why. They feel the difference, because you're no longer reacting like before. You're no longer easy to read. You're no longer predictable. And unpredictability creates respect, creates space, creates authority, without you saying a word. That's the paradox. The less you try to control others, the more control you gain over yourself. And the more control you have over yourself, the less anyone can control you. That's freedom, not external, internal, built through discipline, through restraint, through silence. So now ask yourself, how many times have you given that away? How many moments have you lost? Because you couldn't stay still? Because you couldn't hold your words? Because you needed to respond? Be honest, because honesty is where change begins. Not motivation, not inspiration. Truth, raw and uncomfortable. And the truth is, you already know this. You felt it before. That moment after you spoke too much, after you reacted too fast, after you revealed more than you should have. That quiet regret, that internal voice saying, you should have stayed silent. That voice is not weakness. It's awareness, trying to guide you, trying to sharpen you, but you ignore it. Until now. Now you're seeing it clearly. Now you're starting to understand. Now you're beginning to separate yourself from the version of you that reacts. And that separation is the beginning of control. So from this point forward, move differently, not louder, not faster, smarter, calmer, sharper. Let people talk. Let them reveal themselves. Let them underestimate you. Because while they're speaking, you're learning. And while they're reacting, you're building control. That's the advantage. And it's invisible until it's too late for them. So don't rush this. Don't try to prove it. Just practice it. Quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Because one day, you'll find yourself in a situation where the old you would have reacted instantly. But this time, you won't. You'll pause. You'll observe. You'll choose silence. And in that moment, you'll feel it. Real control. Not forced. Not fake. Natural. Effortless. Yours. And once you feel that, you'll never go back. And when that moment comes again, it won't announce itself. It never does. It arrives quietly, in a tone, in a glance, in a word meant to pull you back into your old self. And this time, you see it. Not after, during. That's the difference. Awareness in real time. You feel the surge, the urge to speak, to correct, to react. But instead of obeying it, you study it. You let it rise, without giving it permission to act. That is practice. Not theory. Not motivation. Control. In motion. Epictetus taught something simple. You don't control what happens. You control how you respond. But most people hear that and do nothing with it. You're different now. You're applying it. Right in the moment that matters. Because practice doesn't happen in silence alone. It happens in pressure, in tension, in discomfort, That's where discipline is forged. So here's what you do. You slow everything down. Not externally, internally. You create space between feeling and action. Just a second, maybe two, but that second is everything. Inside that space, you decide who you are, not your past reactions, not your habits, not your impulses. You, chosen, deliberate, controlled. That's the exercise. And like any discipline, it starts small. Someone interrupts you. You don't rush to reclaim attention. You let them finish. You stay composed. Someone doubts you. You don't defend immediately. You let the silence respond first. Someone tries to provoke you. You don't take the bait. You observe it and let it fall. These moments seem small. They're not. They are repetitions, mental reps, and every rep builds control. Just like the body, your mind adapts to what you train. Train reaction, and you become reactive. Train restraint, and you become dangerous, controlled, unshaken, focused. That's the level you're stepping into. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, because without resistance, there is no strength." So stop avoiding these moments. Stop wishing people wouldn't trigger you. You need them. They are your training ground. Every difficult interaction is an opportunity, not to win, but to master yourself. And mastery is quiet. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need recognition, because it knows, and you will know, in the way you hold eye contact, without aggression, in the way you respond, without urgency, in the way you walk away, without explanation. That's practice showing results. But don't confuse silence with suppression. You're not bottling emotions. You're refining them. You're choosing when they matter and when they don't, because not every feeling deserves expression. Some deserve observation, understanding, release without reaction. That's maturity. That's discipline. That's Stoic control. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now, not to create fear, but urgency, clarity, perspective. Because when you realize time is limited, you stop wasting it on meaningless reactions, on pointless arguments, on proving things to people who don't matter. You become selective, precise, intentional. That's another practice, remembering what matters and what doesn't. So when someone tries to pull you into chaos, you ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this deserve my attention? Most times, the answer is no. And when it's no, you disengage, without guilt, without explanation, without noise. That's power, not in controlling the moment, but in choosing not to enter it. But here's the part that will test you most: consistency. Anyone can stay silent once. Few can do it repeatedly, under pressure, under emotion, under stress. That's where identity is built. Not in what you do occasionally, but in what you do consistently. So you don't just practice silence. You become it. Not mute, controlled, measured, sharp. Your words become tools, not reactions. Your silence becomes presence, not absence. And people will notice. They'll test you, push you, try to get a reaction. Because they're used to the old version of you. The one who reacted, explained, defended. But that version is fading. And this new one is harder to reach, harder to read, harder to move. That's when respect starts to form. Quietly, without announcement, without effort. Because you've changed your internal world. And the external is catching up. So keep practicing. In small moments, in big ones, in silence, in tension. Every time you choose control, you reinforce it. Every time you resist reaction, you strengthen it. And over time, it becomes natural, effortless, automatic. Not reacting becomes your default. And when that happens, you've reached a level most people never touch. A level where nothing easily disturbs you, nothing easily provokes you, nothing easily controls you. That's freedom, built quietly, practiced daily, owned completely. So stay with it, because this isn't just a skill, it's a transformation, and you're already in it. And the deeper you go, the more you realize this was never about other people. It was always about you, your impulses, your need to respond, your attachment to being understood. That attachment is where they reach you. That's the opening, the weakness you never questioned. Until now, because now you see it clearly. You don't need to be understood to be in control. You don't need agreement to stay grounded. You don't need the last word to win. That realization cuts something inside you, your ego, and it won't go quietly. It will fight back. It will whisper, say something. Don't let that slide. Prove them wrong. It sounds convincing, urgent, necessary, but it's not. It's conditioning. Years of reacting, masquerading as instinct. And if you follow it again, you go back to noise, back to exposure, back to losing control in small, invisible ways. So this time, you don't listen. You let the voice speak, but you don't obey it. That's the shift. Separation. You and your impulse are no longer the same. That distance is power, because now you can choose. And choice is everything. Without it, you're just reacting. With it, you're directing your life, one moment at a time. This is where most people break. Not because it's hard, but because it's subtle. There's no applause for staying silent. No recognition for controlling yourself. No reward, except the one that builds inside you. And that's why they quit. They go back to what feels good. Immediate reaction, instant expression, temporary relief. But you're not chasing relief anymore. You're building control. And control requires discomfort, requires patience, requires you to sit in moments that your old self would escape instantly. That's your training now. Not physical, mental, emotional, relentless. Every interaction is a test, not of others, of you. Can you hold your composure? Can you delay your response? Can you stay grounded when everything inside you wants to react? That's the question. And your answer defines who you become. Marcus Aurelius faced this daily. Pressure, conflict, disrespect. Yet he reminded himself, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Read that slowly, because it changes everything. You don't respond like them. You don't lower yourself. You don't mirror chaos. You rise above it. Not emotionally, mentally, through control, through restraint, through silence when necessary. That's revenge. Not loud, not dramatic, precise, final. Because when you refuse to engage, you remove their power completely. And without your reaction, they have nothing to work with, nothing to manipulate, nothing to control. That's how you win. Quietly, consistently, without needing anyone to notice. But here's where it gets deeper. The more you practice this, the more alone you may feel. Not physically, mentally, because you'll start to see patterns. Others don't. You'll hear things differently, notice intentions quicker, understand dynamics deeper, and that awareness creates distance. You won't relate to constant noise anymore, to pointless arguments, to emotional reactions. They'll feel heavy, unnecessary, draining, and you'll choose distance, not out of arrogance, out of clarity, because once you've experienced control, you can't go back to chaos comfortably. It doesn't fit you anymore. That's growth, quiet, unseen, but powerful. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. And that's exactly what you're doing now. You're not talking about control, you're becoming it. You're not explaining discipline, you're practicing it. Moment by moment, choice by choice. And over time, this becomes your identity. Not something you try to do, something you are. Calm under pressure, still under tension, unmoved by noise. That's rare. And rarity creates value. Without you saying a word, people will start to notice. They'll feel something different about you. They won't be able to explain it, but they'll respect it, because control is felt before it's understood. And once it's felt, it changes how people approach you, how they speak to you, how they treat you, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. That's the level. But don't get comfortable. This isn't a destination. It's a practice, a daily discipline, because the moment you relax, the old habits return. The impulse, the reaction, the need to respond. It never fully disappears. You just get better at not following it. That's mastery, not perfection. Control, maintained, refined, strengthened over time. So stay aware, stay sharp, stay disciplined, because every moment still matters. Every reaction still counts. Every silence still builds or breaks who you are becoming. And right now, you're becoming something most people never will. Someone in control, completely, quietly, dangerously. And now you understand something most people never will. Power was never in your voice. It was in your restraint, in your ability to stand still when everything inside you demanded movement. This is where you separate from the noise, from the predictable, from the version of you that kept reacting and calling it strength. Because now, you see clearly, every moment is a choice, to speak or to stay silent, to react or to remain in control, to be like everyone else or become someone they can't read. And once you become unreadable, you become untouchable, not because you're distant, but because you're disciplined. This is your edge now, not loud, not obvious, but real. So the next time life tests you, and it will, remember this moment. Pause, observe, choose, because in that space, you decide everything. If this shifted something inside you, don't ignore it. Comment, control, not for me, for you. A mark of the moment you stopped reacting and started mastering yourself. And if you're serious about becoming this version of you, subscribe. Not for motivation, for discipline, for reminders like this when the old habits try to return. And don't stop here. There's a video on your screen right now, and it goes even deeper. Watch it, because what you've started here needs to be finished. Share this with someone who needs control, more than comfort. And remember, the loud world will always exist, but you don't have to belong to it.